Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod with Ryan Rottman with us today. Ryan is a former actor and he is now CEO at OSDB Sport, alongside with NFL superstar Aaron Rodgers, which we all know. We're going to talk about sports today, folks. We're going to talk about athletes, the business of sports and so forth. So, Ryan, welcome to the pod. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and OSDB?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I appreciate you having me on here. Excited to, like you said, talk sports. It's my life. So, um, yeah, I mean, I've been obsessed with sports pretty much my entire life. I grew up in a small town in Texas between Houston and Dallas, and played pretty much every sport under the sun. Friday Night Lights was a real thing. My town was probably like 75,000 people. In my senior year, we went to state, and I think 55,000 of us went down to Houston to watch it. So, lived and breathed that, but excelled at golf. So, which is great because it's the one sport you can play, your entire life. Actually, I think my shirt, I'm wearing this one, says golf and sex are the only two things you can be bad at and still enjoy. Uh, little quote from Tin Cup. But excelled at golf. So I went to Texas Tech and, did that and studied business. And how the hell I ended up an actor in Los Angeles, I don't know. But I came out here during the summers from college and ended up getting introduced to it was Todd Phillips, who did Old School and Starsky and Hutch and The Joker and a bunch of great, road trip, great films, and ended up meeting my manager. And I said, let's give it a try. And that was like 18, 19 years ago. So I've been doing that, in the time, and did everything from 90210 to a show called Victorious to a movie called Billionaire Boys Club and a bunch of other good stuff. So did that, and just I always had this pull back from sports, and and then because of acting, it actually got me into the sports business, which was a little wild ride.
Acting, why did you pick acting first if you were obsessed with sports?
Growing up, I liked being in front of the camera, taking it. I still have a video of me actually doing at a charity event. My parents got be the weatherman for a night, and I went and did that. And I was 5'2", trying to reach and show where the weather was, and but I excelled at it, and I loved it, and thought I'd give it a shot and see. Growing up in that small town, we didn't have a theater department, so it was nothing like I did growing up. I put my hand into theater and college, and really enjoyed it. It was just kind of fun playing someone else, and getting to see, especially theater, getting to see the reaction like almost immediate. So I came out to LA and got to work on Starsky and Hutch with Todd Phillips, and was playing cards with Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, and was like, well, shit, this is pretty cool. And so I tried it, and in that process started producing some, and I really like the business aspect of the entertainment world as well, even though it's it's a really rocky road. And so once I got into it, you start working, it's like it's almost like a drug, you just like want to get that next project or get on a good show and then try a new character. And so yeah, I was given an opportunity and I took it, and that's kind of why I think I chose this path first.
What skills did you learn in that acting career and that you transitioned to that CEO role of yours today?
I mean, for me, the biggest, craziest one was thick skin. Right, every audition you'd have 4 a day, and it's a lot of no's. It's a lot of you're constantly hearing other people in an audition room, and you can hear them doing the same scene that you're doing, and then you're in your head, you're like, well, they doing it the right way, or am I doing it the right way, or should I change mine to do what they're doing? And then you go in and it's no, and it's like, well, did that guy get it? So you're constantly, not that they're saying this, but saying you're not good enough, or it can be anything from your hair is too long, your hair not blonde, you're too tall. You know, if they have the girl cast and she's 5 foot and I'm 6'2", like, you know, with the way they shoot with cameras, it's it doesn't work. So you get told to know a lot. You get a really thick skin, you know, and something I heard this quote a long time ago, but I might butcher it, but it was that for every no I heard, I was one step closer to a yes. And I really took that through with acting. Is like, if I don't get this one, I'm not meant to get this one. I'm meant to get the one that I'll have in 5 auditions from now. And another big takeaway for me was want versus need. And when you need something, you reek of it, as opposed to when you want something. And you work for it differently. You work harder for it in different ways for each side. But when I would go in and really need a project of being like, all right, I didn't work in a year and a half, like I really need this. You don't get it when you go in wanting it, or you end up usually getting it. The ones that I walk in like, oh, there's no way I'm getting this, I'm just gonna go in and have fun, I'd get. And because of that need. So I'd say the thick skin and need versus want for me was like my big 2 takeaways that I've taken into business, because growing a startup is the same shit, right? It's I thought I was getting the sports business. I'm in the raising capital business. So you get to have the fun of once you do the initial raise to go out and build the product that you've been dreaming about for forever. And then as you expand, it's just constantly asking for money and showing metrics and all that kind of stuff. And it gets a lot, it gets strenuous, but because of that, you get told no a lot, right? You get led down a path, just like acting, where it's like you go to the first audition, then you go to the callback, and then the callback, and then you go to test. And by this time you've gone in and seen a room of seven different times, and by the final room there's 30 people standing in front of you, and how much time it's taken, and then they're like, oh, sorry, next time. And you're like, shit. And it's the same thing with investor. It's like you have your initial pitch, and then you keep continuing on just to find out that we could have told you this earlier, but because of the revenue or this or that, or your seed or pre-seed was too early for us, and it's crushing, because you think you can taste the finish line, but it very similar in that sense.
Right. It reminds me of Matthew McConaughey's book, when he was going to his auditions, and yeah, it's so hard because you compete against so many other actors and you need to move yourself, and sometimes you really get dissed out of a room. Some VCs are the same, don't have much respect, or they had bad days. And yeah, it's similar stats to the ones that I get in sales, because that's one of my agencies, and we get booed out most of the time. It probably works out one time out of 100. But when you understand that formula and you try to scale it, then it makes way more sense. And I often speak to founders that say that the startup game and the entrepreneurship game is not for everyone. Well, I think you can change pretty much all of your mental frameworks and adapt to these situations. But normal folks, like they get rejected once and that's it. I can think of my younger self that would get offended when a lady would tell me no, and for 5 years I wouldn't try to do anything with ladies. But the life is way more different, and there's different laws of physics, and when you get to understand them, you get to the results that you want.
Yep. It's a lot of people, like, they get told something, or they say getting told no, and they resort back to the room, and it is hard to get past that, right? It's really hard to get past that it's not about me. And something someone else also told me was that when you walk in that audition room, or when you walk in that, like, it was for acting, but I transitioned to entrepreneurship. But when you walk in that acting audition room, those are your 5 minutes, right? They're no one else's. So you do what you want to do with them, right? This is your time to shine. It's your 5 minutes, right? And so I take that into a pitch or anything else, is whether it be 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, however long the pitch is. this is your time to shine. This is your moment, and just have fun with it. And whatever the outcome is, you win and you did your best. And part of it too is just showing up. You know, I had a casting director one time tell me that I was always prepared when I went in, like always off book. You know, you always hold your sides, just because if you don't have your sides, the casting director thinks that that's the final product. You want to always let them know that you can, you know, that you can pivot. And she always said that you're in the top 10% right there, just by being off book or have it at least, you know, fully memorized. You're in the top 10%, because everyone else comes in and reads it, hasn't done the work, hasn't prepared. So automatically you're catapulted up. So now your window gets a lot smaller. So I took that same approach to, you know, pitches or entrepreneurship, is that if you go in prepared, you know your business, you know, and you know your numbers, you're in the top 10%. Because a lot of people go in, and feedback that I've gotten from a lot of entrepreneurs or from VCs or investors is, you know, we invested in you because you knew what you're talking about. You know this business inside out. You know the industry. You know there's a need for it, and so right there, I was already beating. You know, I say competition like it's a competition for me to get their someone's money over someone else's, but the people listen, and you know you get ahead.
And is that how you met your co-founder not so long? I had the guys from millions.co on the pod. Not sure if you know them, but the co-founder is Bruce Buffer. They had a special deal with them. So how did you meet Aaron?
So I met Aaron probably like 12 years ago, on a golf course, playing in a golf tournament. And we actually bonded over The Big Lebowski, which is both one of our favorite movies, and Dumb and Dumber. Go ahead and act for comedies, and guy's a hell of a golfer. And yeah, we had to just friendship ensued, right? Where he's one of the smartest guys you ever met. He's also one of the coolest, just down to earth. You know, go out and hop on a Lime scooter and, you know, ride around to a sports bar and watch a game with you. And so we just became friends and played a lot of golf together, hung out, started doing some producing together. And, you know, kind of nexus of the business and the idea that I've had for so long because of acting was IMDb, which is Internet Movie Database. It's essentially the end all be all. It's the one-stop shop for the entertainment world, right? And every audition room I went into, my IMDb page is pulled up with all my films, projects that I've done, everything about me, who my representation is. And I was always so curious, being a sports nut, why that wasn't in the sports world, right? Like you go to ESPN, they have current athlete stats, nothing about the athlete. If you click on like even bio for Aaron, it just says where he went to college. Nothing else, right? You click on Brett Favre, they don't even have a profile for really Brett Favre anymore. They really focus on current athletes. You go to another, you know, The Athletic is just editorial. You know, you have Pro Football Reference and stuff like that. That's really heavy on stats. But again, we wanted to show, you know, what IMDb does, but is a full picture of the athlete on and off the field. And that was always my thought. I was like, man, it's so crazy this doesn't exist. You know, I feel like the way sports is going, a lot of people are almost more fans of the players rather than teams that will follow a player, but they don't know anything about them. And so we were at dinner one night, and I just kind of said to him, I said, hey, do you think like this is needed in the sports world? As an athlete, would you use it? And I'll never forget, we were at Casa Vega in Sherman Oaks, California. And he just looked at me and he said, who have you told? And I said, yeah, a couple of our boys. He's like, all right, well, don't tell anyone else. There's a white space for this, and you and I are the guys to do it. So we finished, woke up the next day, and he's shot me a text and was like, let's get after it. And I was like, oh shit, we're doing this. Like, I guess I'm done acting for the time being, and I'm now in the sports business. And so we did. And now it's OSDBsports.com that you see, which is, you know, we have top 5 sports currently, which is NFL, MLB, NBA, MLS, and NHL. And we're growing that to 40. So we'll have 40 professional sports, past and present. And then we'll get into collegiate and eventually high school. So you'll be able to see the trajectory of an athlete. But we show everything about them, right? So their endorsement deals, their business ventures, their charities they're affiliated with, how to get involved, all their socials, their bios, their contract details, So you really get a full picture of who they are on the field and off the field. And, it's becoming the cool thing that, like, I think Jay-Z kind of like paved the way for this, but all these athletes, entertainers, they want to be businessmen, right? They want to be Jeff Bezos. They want to be, Elon Musk. And so now they're all doing such crazy cool things, right? Of investing in cool products, and not just endorsing, but becoming owners or co-founders. And I wanted to be able to showcase that. And I think that's why a lot of the athletes love this, is because it gets to show the other side of them. Like Thaddeus Young, the NBA player, he's got 97 investments. He's crushing the investment game, well over the NBA. And, like look at Shaq. Like a lot of these guys are doing that. And Tom Brady now is a good example. Aaron, if you look at his business ventures, he's got Habit Burgers, he's got everything. It's who they really are, when they take that helmet off, and this is what they do and what they love. And I think we showcase that. And then on top of that, Aaron always says we didn't build this for the 1% of athletes, we built it for the other 99%, because guys on his O-line can still get brand deals, right? Whether it be in New York now or Green Bay prior, but no one knows how to get a hold of them, right? Like who's their agent, who's their manager, who's their PR team. And it's very difficult. You can find out online probably who Aaron's agent is, but see Jim Mosley on his team is a lot more difficult, right? Or Cole Beasley, or anyone. We provide a brand, the ability, or a company, a brand, PR company, whatever it may be, charity, a way to figure out who represents that athlete and get a hold of them, garnishing more revenue in the pockets of the athletes.
It's amazing. Do you raise from these same guys?
Do we what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you raise from these same people, these athletes that have multiple business investments?
Yes. So we do have a very robust A-list investor cap table. When we finish our Series A, I'll be able to release who it is, but we have a lot of big A-listers that are behind us on the entertainment side and the athlete side, and a lot of big agents, right? And that was a big thing for us, is we want the agencies to get involved, but because we don't want any collusion between anything or other agencies get pissed. But the heads of the agencies haven't invested with us because they see new dollar revenues that we can bring to their athletes. And then the entertainer side understand it, because IMDb has done so much for them in in their job. I've done Hallmark movies before. I do a lot of Hallmark Christmas films, and they found me because of IMDb. They've seen me on, like, I think probably 90210, figuring out who my representation was and reaching out.
So how do you make money off that right now? Because I see ads on the website. Like, what's the monetization scheme eventually?
So it's ads, affiliates, and partnerships, right? So we're doing some big partnerships right now that should be on the site in the next couple of weeks. And our big one is the subscription model. So much like an IMDb Pro, well, an OSDB Plus, which is the subscription model, which is the athlete representation information. So you'll be able to see who Aaron's agent is, his manager, his PR team. We're also doing a front office sports. So you'll be able to see who the head of the marketing team for the Chicago Cubs is, right? Who their head recruiter is for the Padres, Bears, or, and then also, brands, right? So who's the head of tennis at Adidas? Who's the head of basketball at Nike? And so on and so forth. So it's a real, it's a database essentially with athletes and brands and agencies.
And how much should I pay to get access to that for my podcast, for example?
So right now we're looking at, we have the back end built, we're finishing the forward facing product. So we're playing around with some prices, but right now we're at around $12.99 a month.
Wow. And is it unlimited access
Yeah.
to emails?
Correct.
Whoa. I'm gonna get that. for the pods?
Depends. Like, so right now, I think the representation information is $12.99, and if you want the brands and the front office sports, it'd be $20.
Yeah, because just for the PR, it would be valuable because there's no sole place to find that. Like first, it would be nice to divide them in tier 1, at least tier 2, tier 3, or however you want to call them. And yeah, then having their emails so that, yeah, we can contact PR and their agents and so forth. That'd be pretty fun. $12.99 seems very low for access to that full database.
Yeah, so we've, again, we're working on it. That was my initial thought. We've had some more professionals in that subscription base come in and say it is too low. IMDb Pro is $20 a month. So that's where I'm gonna push back, is saying $20 a month. But listen, figure it out, see what the value prop is. And that's my biggest thing, is to make sure that value proposition for the consumer is like the best, right? I don't want to overprice anything just to do it. I really do, Aaron, I really do want to bring added revenue to these athletes, and I don't want to overcharge people and hinder access. So it's really finding that perfect price point. So we're in the midst of that right now.
Love that. What are your top goals? Because I'm guessing Aaron is the face of the company, brings in a couple of deals here and there. You're mostly the operator, but who takes care of the platform in itself? Is there like a third co-founder, or do you hire people for that? And how does that impact your goals? Like there's 2 months remaining to that year. Is it like 90% effort push on the Series A?
So it's a great question. So yeah, initially we outsourced with a team that we knew from Orange County, where some of Aaron's other businesses and had a house and stuff. Our third partner, Nate Raby, who runs RX3, Aaron's fund, lives down there too. And we outsourced it to them, and they built a beautiful product. But at a certain time, as you grow, it gets too expensive, and it gets too timely. So we've just brought some tech in-house, and so I'm really excited for the scalability of that. I've always said, okay, here's the functionality we want. How long is it going to take, and how much is it going to cost? Where now I can say, here's the functionality I want, go do it, right? And so, they're going to be giving me a lot more hours. So I'm really excited to see that the speed that we can now accomplish, because our main focus is revenue and growth. So we're adding UFC, should be done in probably the next 2 months. WNBA, F1 and NASCAR, and really looking at, as I said, we're going to be doing 40 sports. So you will have cornhole on there. We'll have pickleball. If it's a professional sport and you get paid to do it, we'll have it on there. And then now collegiate makes sense because of NIL deals. So that's where I'm excited about the growth, right? Because before, it took a while. Getting into individual sports is different, because it did take a while before. When you have sports like the NFL that have thousands of players, and you dive into UFC, which has I think it's like 496 athletes, something like that. And WNBA, it shrinks, so it'd be quicker. But I'm very, very excited for that. I can't tell you how excited I am for that.
Very exciting indeed. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Ryan Rottman, at OSDB on Instagram, OSDBsports.com, and I think I'm just at Ryan Rottman across the board. And then either at OSDB or at OSDB Sports.